IVM.
Hello and welcome to Smile India, the podcast that gets you genuine, uplifting news from India. I'm your host Shifa Maitra, who loves all things Indian and has a nose for news. Let's begin with a brother who did something awesome for his sister from another mother. Babu Bhai Pathan, a resident of Ahmednagar, has a Rakhi sister called Bhusare. It's a bond that was made years ago, and the fact that she's a Hindu and he a Muslim never bothered them. Recently, when his widowed sister wanted to get her two daughters married, she was worried. Sensing her dilemma, her brother stepped in. At a time of crisis, he dipped into his savings and began helping. He made sure his nieces could fulfill all their desires, and in true Hindu tradition, all the rituals and ceremonies were beautifully conducted. The entire city is praising Babu Bhai, who says, "I was only doing my duty as a brother." Humanity winning is always worth appreciating. Now let me tell you about something that has benefited a few Indians across the country, but can work for everyone. At a time when consumers have been reeling under huge electricity bills, given that everyone is home this year, some people have no such woes. A college in Mumbai and some residential complexes got no bill at all this summer. That's because they have solar panels installed on the roof. The power bill goes down, and due to the reduced carbon footprint, they get cash back. Of course, the one-time installation cost is high, but in 5 years, it gets amortized over low bills. Renewable energy is the way forward. And in cities and towns where people have ample rooftop space, this makes total sense right away. In fact, the Indian Railways have also started solar panels on some trains, and that brings down the running costs to a fraction. In Ladakh, where online studying was becoming an issue, again, solar energy provided a solution. Here in hilly areas, electricity only comes for a couple of hours at night. So how is remote learning possible? An NGO set up solar panels in some local schools. They then bought computers and started tablet in every hamlet. Now teachers go to school and on a charged tablet preload lessons and tests. All the information is stored via cloud technology. Students come in batches and take the tablets home. They can learn and take their tests. Then they return the tabs to the teachers, who in turn pass them on to the next batch of students. Well, the sun is vital in the new normal, in many ways other than just building your immunity. In Mumbai, students and teachers of Holy Star English High School were distraught when a bright class 10 student, Shabina Khan, suddenly passed away. Everyone remembered her as cheerful and enthusiastic. Her family was surprised to know how much their daughter was loved at school. What the school did next shocked not just them, but everyone. In Shabina's memory, they've started a scholarship where every year one bright girl from a modest background will not have to pay school fees till class 10. Isn't that amazing? Shabina has truly become a holy star who's lighting the path of others like her. Riya Shah is a young landscape architect who believes that architecture and environment studies go hand in hand. She was born and brought up in a village in Gujarat and only came to Mumbai to study architecture. Feeling a close bond with nature, she was always keen to create sustainable design. Post her graduation, she did her master's from Harvard in the same subject and launched her own firm. Once the pandemic struck, she decided to move back to the village and be with the family. She felt helpless as she saw how people were suffering. Her father runs a paper and corrugation business, so with the resources available to her, she decided to do something to help. She built isolation beds of cardboard. She made alterations in her design till she could make beds that were strong, cheap, easy to carry, recyclable, and even had a headrest that's important for respiratory illness patients. Her father and cousins helped with funds for the first 2,000, and when Riya donated these beds to local hospitals and the BMC-run charity centers in Mumbai, people were amazed. Soon orders started pouring in from private hospitals, the Indian Navy, and even hospitals in UAE. With limited help available, Riya has been creating beds around the clock and is glad she's using her education to create something that's sustainable, cost-effective, and totally the need of the hour. Before I sign off, here are some tips by architect Prashant Chauhan to live your life in a more sustainable manner. Use a cloth handkerchief instead of tissues. Carry your own coffee in a thermos when out instead of drinking coffee out of paper or plastic cups. Plant a tree every year on your birthday. Encourage your children to grow food, even if it's a pot in the windowsill. If you do have plastic bags at home, reuse them repeatedly. And also carry your own cloth bag when out shopping so you don't get more plastic home. Refuse, reduce, and reuse are the key words to remember. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on IVM Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, it's at Shifa Maitra on Instagram and Twitter. I will see you soon with a new episode of Smile India.
I hope you enjoyed that show. I'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Intel. It's been a great week on the network this week. If you haven't been paying attention, please do listen to some of the shows. We had Chetan Bhagat. This was the first returning guest on Cyrus Says. Do check that out. Great episode. We had Palak Zatakia on Advertising is Dead. Really interesting conversation was had with Varun. We had another crossover on the habit codes. Reena Poonawala showed up over there to have a discussion with Ashton about anxiety and pressure. Begin the Journey with Ashish Vidyarthi continues to kill it. Please definitely do check it out. An old friend, Vijay Koshi, was on Storytellers and Storysellers. Do check that out as well. And I'd like to mention one thing. If you're a Tamil speaker, you should definitely check out our podcast, Kadai Podcast Punyan Selvan. Kavita Jiva has done a fantastic job to finish up her first story. It is the last episode which just came out last Monday. Do check it out if you speak Tamil. It is an incredible achievement. Please do check that out. And with that, hope to see you again next week.
Namaskar, dear Bandhu. My name is Ashish Vidyarthi. These are truly challenging times, and in these times, we need hope. Do take time to listen to my podcast, Begin the Journey. Available on IVM Podcasts, website, app, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Remember, there is hope because there's one life and we are alive.